Do you ever find yourself sat at your edit suite, staring at the screen and just thinking to yourself, I really can't be fucked? Well, I've been there many times. And today we're going to talk about some of the reasons why you might be feeling that, because you probably think that that is just because you've been working too much. You've been working too hard. That's just one reason. There's 4 other reasons why you could be feeling that way. Today we're going to talk about those so that you can help understand what's causing you to burn out, so that you can help to rectify that. Okay, let's get on with it. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the video editing podcast from Unsplice. With me, your host, Shiny, the founder of Unsplice. Thank you so much for joining me, because today we're talking about a subject that I've experienced many times, and I know that a lot of you do too. We work in a creative industry, and when you do creative things constantly all day, it's so intensive on the brain. And if you aren't conscious about your efforts and everything that you do and everything you work towards and how you use your time and energy, then you will burn out. It is almost an inevitability of our industry and our profession. For artists, when you work and you solve creative problems, it's heavy on the brain. So what can be causing you to feel burnt out? Well, of course, the first and primary reason is because you're just not getting enough rest. That's the main reason that we all think, I'm burnt out, haven't got any energy, and you put it down to, I'm working too much and I'm working too hard. Well, that is pretty true, but you can work hard, and if you're well rested, you can continue working hard for quite a long period. Now, we only have about 4 bouts of deep work available within us per day. And a bout of deep work is about 90 minutes. So you have 90 minutes times 4 in your day where you are physically able, your brain is capable to work hard in a deep work state on a creative task. If you go beyond 90 minutes, then it's a diminishing return. You're not in deep work. You're working at half capacity. So if we think about that, and we think about that 4 times, if we take a break between each of those 90-minute cycles, that totals maximum 6 hours. The average person probably only has about 4 hours of deep work within them per day. 6 hours is for people who are very, very well practiced. And yes, you can train yourself and your brain to do more deep work, but the average person is probably 3 to 4 hours per day. Let's think about that for a moment. 3 to 4 hours of hard, deep work, non-distracted deep work per day. And we're asked to work 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours per day. So much of that time is just wasted, and you're burning your brain on tasks that are not being completed to their full capacity. That's why you're feeling burnt out. So if you are able to get enough rest, then actually it may not be this that is causing your burnout. What are some of the other ways? So another way, if you're feeling burnt out, generally you sit at your desk and you're just like, I'm just not interested. I just don't want to do this. It could be because you're working in an industry that you don't love. Now, this is probably going to hit hard because we, as editors, we spend a lot of time and a lot of energy working towards our career goals, working within this post-production industry. But the reality is, it is a demanding industry, and the role that we play in it is also very demanding. So think about whether you are still in love with the industry, because if you're not, maybe it's time to move to a different role within that. I've met a lot of editors who have gone from editor to post-production associate, production manager, or they work in tech, purely because you don't have to use your creative brain as much. It's not as energy intensive, and you're working on different problems. You're solving different puzzles. You're working with analytical and planning, things like this. So if you feel like, do you know what, I just can't edit anymore, that's okay. But it may not be as heavy as that. It could simply be that you just don't have enough autonomy. If you are sat in a job, if you're a paid editor, you're on a salary, and you're just asked to cut the same stuff over and over without any kind of creative input, that is going to cause burnout as much as the other two things that we spoke about. And it seems such a small thing, but actually it's a big thing. We're humans, and we crave diversity, we crave stimulation. And if you're not getting stimulation through autonomy, then you are going to burn out. That's something that's not really spoken about a huge amount. And the kind of positions that you may experience this would be, like I said, in a salaried role. If you are working on a salary, if you are just cutting the same things constantly. I've heard from some reality TV editors that they just end up working on the same patterns, doing the same thing with the same footage, and it can be very monotonous. So that is another part of the industry that can cause that to happen. You may find it in corporate work as well. Even as a freelancer, if you are just cutting interviews constantly and there's no creativity, there's no creative input that you are able to give, then that could be why. Another reason that you might feel burnt out, which is something certainly a lot of younger or editors who are just starting out earlier in their career, is because you're not getting paid enough. Now, if somebody said to you, I'll pay you 10p or £1 an hour, $1 an hour to clean the sidewalks of dog poop, you would probably say no. Even if you were really hard up, that's a very small amount of money. You're not going to be able to survive on that. It really isn't worth going through the trauma and the trouble of doing something you don't like, picking up the disgusting poop from the side of the sidewalk. But if somebody said to you, I'm going to pay you an annual salary of $1 million to clean up the poop on the sidewalk in this area, you'd be like, cool, all right, show me the shovel. And it really is as simple as that. It doesn't mean that we're shallow. We, as humans, we need shelter, we need security, we need food, we need water. These are basic human needs. Money provides that. So if you are doing something that is not stimulating and also not providing you with these basic needs, security, shelter, food, and water, then you are going to feel burnt out, because all of your energy and all of your efforts are not reaping rewards that are allowing you to survive, let alone thrive. So yeah, money matters. And if you're not getting paid enough, then you are going to feel a bit burnt out. Definitely something to consider. And of course, one of the main reasons, certainly for mid to senior level editors, that you might be feeling burnt out. You might be getting loads of work. You might have clients coming to you every week. You're having to turn them away because you've got so much work coming in. You're able to keep hours, be very strict with your schedule and say, no, I'm only going to work this many hours. I need this much rest. I need to look after my free time. I have hobbies. I have a family. I want to enjoy my life. If you keep all of that in balance, you can still burn out because you're not growing. I felt this myself. And until you understand that that is actually a cause of burnout, it's really difficult to understand. If you feel like your career and your skills, you're not being challenged and you're not growing anymore, you will lack motivation, you'll feel burnt out, and you'll feel like, what's the point? It's part of growing as a human. We need to feel challenged. We need to be able to grow and work on harder things, push ourselves. It's that hunter-gatherer instinct, with the thrill of the chase, the hunt. We need to feel challenged in order to feel like we've received a reward. Hunting down a cheetah in the wild in order to hit eat is going to be a lot more challenging than hunting down, I'd say a rabbit, but they're pretty fast. But it's going to be a lot more challenging than hunting down a mouse or a rat. You could probably catch one of those with a net if you're fast. And eating that is going to feel like, that was easy. But if you manage to grab something that is a challenge and eat it, share it with your family and friends, you get a sense of pride. And that is essential. We need to grow our career, we need to push our skills, and we need to feel challenged in our work and just generally in our life. There are people I know who are very happy just working on the same jobs, working at the same level, and just keeping that pace. They enjoy the stability. They know the paychecks coming in. They know what work to do. They don't have to use their brain. That is something they love. Those people have very stimulating lives outside of their work schedule. They have hobbies. They go traveling. They go climbing. They push themselves for these challenges outside of work. So they're in work. They're just there. They do the job. That's it. Outside of work, they're pushing themselves, going to far corners of the earth to do rock climbing, pushing themselves even further, doing hobbies that push their skills, something that they love, something that they look forward to when they clock off. That is, again, comes back to this need to feel challenged and to push ourselves. So that kind of all fits in together into this idea. We're humans, we have basic needs, and a lot of us choose to get that from work. And so if we're not getting that from work, then we will feel burnt out. So that kind of covers the 5 reasons that you might be feeling burnt out. Just quickly go over those again. Of course, not getting enough rest in your work schedule is one of them. That is probably the most popular one that we all tend to associate with burnout. Working in an industry that you don't love, that can lead to burnout. Just a feeling of ambivalence and uninterest towards the work that you do. not having enough autonomy, not having a creative say in what you're making, not being paid enough is another reason that you might feel burnt out. And of course, if you're not growing anymore and you don't feel challenged, then that's going to eat away at you and you'll feel exhausted and a bit burnt out. Very different reasons, but all lead to the same feeling of just apathy and uninterest in doing any work. You sit at your station and you just can't be bothered and you're just not interested, and you'd much rather just sit on your phone and scroll on Instagram to see the video editing is hard meme page. We've all been there. It's very understandable. Now, if this is something that you've felt or you are currently feeling, you might be wondering, well, how can I get out of that? On October the 11th, as part of Unsplice Pro, we're going to talk about some of the methods to come out of burnout, how to find motivation for your work, so that when you sit down, how can you stay motivated in your work and work at optimize your day, essentially, so that you can find the best points to do certain bits of work during the day so that you can get the most done. Because we spoke earlier about, there are these 90-minute sections of the day where you're able to do deep work. And if you are able to schedule those so that you get certain bits of work done in the day, you can actually get an entire day's work done in 4 hours. That's the ultimate goal, I think, for most of us, especially freelancers and especially digital nomads. We want to be able to do an entire day's work in 4 hours so that we can spend the afternoon going off, doing anything, or even just picking up our kids from school, spending some time with them, or getting the house ready, cooking a good meal, whatever it is, enjoying the sunshine. That's the ultimate goal. So we're going to talk about some science-based facts, how to deal with that, how to deal with burnout, and how to find motivation. Again, October the 11th, that is for the weekly Q&A session. I'll be there. You'll get to ask me any questions that you like. And that's through unsplice.com/pro. I'll put a link in the show notes if you're interested in that. So if you have related to any of these 5 points that have caused burnout, don't worry, you are not alone, because I've experienced at least half of these at some point, if not all of them. It really does eat away at you, and you feel like you can't be bothered to do anything, and you wonder, is it me? And it's possible to get over it. If you need some help with that, come join us on October the 11th. Thank you so much for listening. I will be back again in a couple of weeks, and I look forward to speaking to you then. Take care. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.